Good morning, everybody. I hope you're going jolly this morning. I'm your host, Winifred Adams, and we are on Making Life Brighter. And boy, are we going to make your lives brighter today. We have a very special guest, and I want to give him a very formal introduction because he deserves one. Now, first of all, he's got the cool factor going on. He's got the inspiring spiritual factor down to a fine science just for you. And he's written a song that you've certainly heard, and it's a jingle that was done for Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? Now, that's not what he's all about, because in the cool factor department, Mr. Paul Hoffman was the manager of Pink Floyd, and he was a tour manager. Can you believe that? Amazing. So he went on to make this hit jingle, but now he's serving people across the world, and he fits so perfectly in our category today of making life brighter. And he is changing lives all over the world with his amazing courses that have been downloaded millions of times. And he is going to help you reset, rewire, and recode your brain. Welcome, Paul Hoffman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Winifred. I'm honored to be here, and I'm here to serve, and you're doing amazing work in the world, and I'm just happy to be on your coattails and ushering in whatever I can to serve your audience.
That's nice of you. We are so happy to have you here because Making Life Brighter is all about experts in their field, and we touch on the woo-woo, the science, and of course, what's inspiring and uplifting to people around the world, and you're doing that. Paul is actually considered the personal discovery architect, and I love that, by the way. That's a brilliant title. He's the creator of Sculpting Your Life. So let's talk about your programs and what it is you do, because you have a dynamic program for people. Let's jump into your program mindset first, and then we're going to backtrack into your life, which is super cool.
You got it. Excuse me. Thank you. So I call myself the personal discovery architect because, first of all, I'm all about creating conversation. And you know, I always tell people, when everybody goes right, I'm going left. Okay, whether that's good or bad, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's challenging, and I love challenges. And as I say, the reason I call myself the personal discovery architect is because I tell people that in order to develop something, you got to discover it first. Right? It doesn't work the other way around. I'll develop and discover. No, you discover and develop.
Yeah.
And so for many years, as you mentioned, I was in the jingle business. We can get into that later, but about 15 years ago, I actually decided that through my trials and tribulations in life and all the things that I faced and went through, I decided that that there's three most important aspects, at least to me, into how to create what I call your ideal life. And they are having powerful rituals, which create amazing, powerful habits, which create what I call mindsets of success. So your rituals create your habits create your mindsets. And so sculpting your life came to me one time in a tuning in process. I don't call it meditation because a lot of people call it meditation. I call it tuning in. What's meditation, Winifred? It's tuning in, right?
Yeah.
And exactly, right? And, you know, I always tell people, a lot of my friends, and I've been doing this for years, a lot of my friends always say, well, you know, I don't know if I'm meditating right, or I'm not getting anything, or my mind isn't being quiet. And I say to them, listen, your mind is never designed to be quiet, because that's not what your mind does. What your mind does is it seeks what you're putting into it. It seeks what you're placing and what you want to activate and what you want to integrate into your life. And so when you tune in with an intention of, let's say, creating more abundance in your life, what happens is you're telling the universe and you're telling your mind, how do I get more abundance in my life? And I always tell my clients and my students and the people that I work with, always ask yourself one question after you come up with an idea. Because there's always three forms to an idea, Winifred. There's the idea, and then there's the outcome. So those are the bookends, if you will, right? What happens in the middle is the most important part, because what happens in the middle is either going to get you to the outcome or not. Because when most people come up with an idea, they say one of two things to themselves. I don't know how to do this. I'm not smart enough. I don't know the right people. That's three things. I'm sorry. What I tell people is come up with an idea and ask yourself the following question. What do I need to do to make it happen? That's an action statement. And now you're going to go do whatever it takes to make it happen. Sometimes you're going to fall on your face. No problem. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. No problem. Sometimes fear is going to come in. No problem. At least you're moving forward, because the first step in any journey is always the hardest.
That's
But
right.
once you take it, guess what? Step 2 will happen. Step 3, and so forth and so on. So I created this concept called sculpting your life, because I believe we are all masterpieces. Okay? There is nobody on this planet, Winifred, like you and me. Nobody. There's no two rose petals that are the same. There's no two raindrops that are the same. There's no two snowflakes that are, and so forth and so on. And so since you are so unique, you have such amazing qualities that nobody else has, why don't you develop those qualities? Because, you know, I always tell people, and I didn't come up with this, I think, I forgot who came up with this quote. I always tell people, you know what, you might as well be you, because everybody else is taken.
I love it.
Okay. And
That's
so, right. And so
yeah,
sculpting your, it's the truth, right? And so, so sculpting your life is all about the metaphor, Winifred, is when Michelangelo looked at the block of granite, which was actually very flawed. It had lots of cracks, lots of chips. It wasn't, quote, up to standards of the big artists back in those times. He said, that's great, man. I like that piece of granite. I'll take that. Because he saw David in the piece of granite. And all he did was take everything in the way, out of the way, and there's David. And so the biggest obstacle to success for anybody in life, including me and you, is you. So once you learn how to get out of your own way, then guess what? A plethora of awe and wonder will begin to show up, and then it's up to you to take the action to get to where you want to go. You know, there's that whole concept of law of attraction, you know, and I understand the law of attraction because I understand the universal principles and the universal laws. And the thing about the law of attraction is it's all well and good to sit here and go, oh, I'm going to attract this into my life. Oh, this is going to happen into my life, so forth and so on. However, the word action is in the word attraction. And so unless you take action, nothing's going to happen.
I love
You
that.
can think all day long.
People are doing affirmations from here till tomorrow, but
Exactly.
they are not
But
living
unless you
life.
act on that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's why I created Sculpting Your Life, because I realized that if I can help people get out of their own way, then they will sculpt the masterpiece known as you.
So how do you propose people get out of their own way? What are a few of your techniques or things you can
Okay.
share with us that people can take away today?
So the first thing I would suggest people do is when you get up in the morning, okay, I'll just use this as a prop. You see this thing?
Yeah.
Don't look at it.
Oh, I
Do
agree.
not look at it first thing in the morning, okay? Do not open your computer first thing in the morning. Do not read negative things first thing in the morning. So I have a morning ritual that I do every day. Now it's a little bit excessive, but it works for me. So I would suggest that when you wake up in the morning, create a ritual so that what happens is, so I teach people there's a principle called the either or principle, all right? It's not rocket science, Winifred. It's basically this: either you're going to do it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So if you want to create something in your life, either you're going to do it, what do I need to do to make it happen? Or you're going to sit there waiting, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for things to be perfect. And of course, things will never be perfect, because if things were perfect, you'd have nothing to work on, right? And so,
Yeah.
and so a morning ritual will help you when you get out of bed in the morning. Most people do one of two things. Most people will say to themselves, oh no, another day. Okay. Or what I do in the morning is I look at the ceiling before I get out of bed. I thank God for the opportunity to create a new day. I do a gratitude exercise By the way, Miss Bliss will be jumping around. I apologize. Okay.
Oh, we're all about that. Bring them
Okay.
on.
Yeah, and you can't get on my computer, and so I do a gratitude exercise, and then I do a really regimented, and I love that word. Some people don't. Some people go, I don't want to be regimented. No
No,
problem.
ego doesn't want to be regimented. That's all.
Right. Substitute any words you want for it. Okay. And
Yeah.
then what I do is I'll get up and I'll read something. So I read 4 books every morning. Right. Not cover to cover. Obviously, I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, 365 Days. And of course, today I read October 20th. I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, October 20th. I read a book by a guy named Max Lucado, who wrote a book called Grace. And it's a kind of a Christian book. I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. But he basically writes about Jesus from a personal development standpoint. And then I read, I'll have a book by this Greek philosopher called Epictetus. And I basically just open the book up, and wherever I open it to, it's perfect, right? And I read that. So what I'm saying is, when you get up, put really empowering stuff into your mind. I would use the word positive, but positive is just positive. Empowering gets you to be empowered,
Well,
okay?
Paul, you are the most inspirational and positive, but powerfully positive individual that I've come across recently. Every day is a positive for you, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's a blessing, and I can say the same for you too, as far as me. You know, the universe brings people into our lives, Winifred. You know this. That wow. Woo. Thank you for that. The universe brings people into our lives to help us along our journey, to usher us, to get us to unleash our greatness and our genius and our brilliance. You know, people that are like-minded, who are honest with us and who are authentic with us and who will tell us when we're full of you know what, and so forth and so on. So after I do my reading, what I do is I listen. I have a brain technology that I use. You've heard of binaural beats. I take binaural beats, heartbeat, and breathing patterns, put them together. I call it multivariant resonant technology.
Yummy.
What it does is, what I'll send it to you. What it does is, it's called Sculptations, because everything I do is about sculpting. There's sculpting your life, there's Sculptations, there's day sculpting, there's all this stuff, right? And so what it does is it resets, rewires, and recodes your supermind. Because every day, when you wake up, every day, Winifred, you wake up with a blank canvas.
I know.
And then you get to sculpt it any way you.
Possibility sits in front of you, and you have a choice as to how you're going to sculpt that, right?
How you want to do it. Okay, you get to put whatever you want to put on that canvas is your choice. So I would recommend you put stuff on there that inspires you, right?
I love it.
Okay, don't put on the same old, same old. So then I listen to my 15-minute Good Morning, Great Day Sculptations, where I actually do the visualization process, which I call mind sculpting. And I tune in, my tuning in process, and I talk to myself. I talk myself into having a successful day. I mean, who better knows me than me, right? And then after I do that, you've read some of these, I write Good Morning, Great Day.
Oh my God, they're so amazing. What he shares is so beautiful. It is really poetry, and it's so sincerely heartfelt. It's deep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And they're stream of consciousness. So this morning I did all my stuff, sat down and I wrote it, and today's was called Mind Flexing. And I go, mind flexing? What the hell is that? Okay, mind flexing. Here's what it is, right? And so, and I'd be happy to share it with the audience and whatever. Anything I have, I'm happy to share. Okay, and then so I set my then I do what I call nutritionizing. So I juice every day. I make fresh organic juice every day, which I'm going to sell in my It's All Good platform, Hillary and I. And then I make my smoothies. Then I play with my animals because they teach me unconditional love, right? And now I'm ready to start my day. Then I go work out, and I'm like rocking already. So ritual, have a ritual. You don't have to have a 60-minute ritual. It could be a 5-minute ritual. Whatever it will take for you to wake up and go, I'm going to get out of my own way today by doing X, Y, and Z. Now what will happen is your mindset will become activated, and you'll be able to integrate into your thinking the empowering setup that you've given yourself. Okay, because I'm writing this book, Winifred, and it's going to take me forever to write it, but I'm going to get it done. And the title of the book is "Your Mind Has a Mind of Its Own."
I love it. It's not going to take
Okay.
long. You could write that
Yeah.
in a day.
Right, but that's true. So once you learn how to control your mind, so your mind is your greatest ally, as opposed to your worst enemy, because it's either or, then what happens is you can go out and go about your day. Now, yeah, are you going to be faced with challenges? Absolutely. Are you going to be faced with obstacles? Absolutely. Are you going to throw your hands up and huff and puff? Absolutely. But why don't you take those kinds of things that happen and turn them into moments where you can challenge your resolve and commit to the path that you want to be on? So now your mindset is coming in. After you create these great habits through your rituals, you've got a powerful mindset, and your habits drive everything. Now, there's a lot of science around habits. In 21 days, 45 days, whatever it takes to break a habit. I'll tell you what, you can break a habit maybe, I say in a day, okay, but I'll give you 3 days. All it's going to take for you to break a habit is to really be mindful. Now, you understand mindfulness, you understand all that stuff. You understand the science around how the brain works. You understand that the brain's going all over the place all the time. And unless you can go, I'm grabbing that one and move towards it, you're going to be floundering and flowing in craziness, in what I call insidious nonsense. I call them mind traps. I'm doing a quiz called how to identify that. I've identified 10 mind traps that everybody has, right?
That's so true.
And then I teach you how to get rid of your mind traps, okay? So because your mind traps will sabotage you, they're debilitating, they're insidious, they silently deceive you, all that stuff, okay?
So where do people like sign up to work with you, or do you have a course out right now?
If you go to sculptingyourlife.com, you can find me.
All right.
Okay. And then from Sculpting Your Life, you'll get to see all the other things that I do. So the 3 things I would tell people to do today, back to that, and I apologize for the long-winded answer, but I'm so passionate about this stuff because I used to know how I used to sabotage myself, Winifred. I was a classic sabotager. Okay. I would say, I'm going to do this. And then like 2 weeks later, it'd be like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't do it yet. Okay. So you got to act on it. So ritual, create a habit, create your mindset. And then what you got to do is you really got to have, clarity about what you want to do. A lot of people will keep things in their head. Okay. And the activity or the action of being able to write something down, I still write down things. I still use a pen, by the way, but you can use your computer if you want to. The idea of actually getting it out of your head and getting it on paper or getting it into a computer is an action step. And everything flows from action because everything is energy.
It's beautiful. Yes, you have to follow through with what it is. Otherwise, you'd be just a lump. You'd be a rock existing. But we're not rocks. We have quite a bit more to offer, and therefore we need to honor that, don't you think?
Absolutely. But there are some beautiful rocks. I have rocks all over my place. My house.
All over mine.
I love rocks. I will, everywhere I go, I'm always looking for rocks. Actually, I always look for rocks that are heart shaped so I can give them to Hillary, right? But I'm always looking because rocks are energy, man. It's all energy. Everything's energy.
I know.
And so the whole idea of learning how to get out of your own way, as I say, you see your mind, again, your mind has a mind of its own, and left to your own devices. That, fight or flight, I think that's what they call it. Trying, people like, sometimes people say, I'm in my comfort zone. Well, there is no such thing as a comfort zone. I call your comfort zone a no zone. And here's my example, because I remember when we were a kid, and you might have done this, and I'm sure some of your listeners, remember the seesaw? Remember when you were on the seesaw? Up and down. That was but what was the most fun was when you went into it like a balance kind of thing, right? And I don't like the word balance. I always use the word harmony.
It takes the other
And
person at that point.
right. And so what happens is when you're in that kind of like stationary position, are you going anywhere? No, you're stationary. So you want to keep active, you want to keep moving, you want to keep seeking, you want to keep searching, you want to go for it, you want to try things out, you want to let your imagination flow. Your imagination is so limitless if you can just tune into it. Your curiosity is so abundant if you could just allow it the freedom to flow. But most people are looking at life like this, man. They're right here, okay? And they're scared to go here, and they're scared to go here. And I understand fear. I understand what that looks like. Come on, man, I live it too. But if I'm going to get from here to here, I got to do something different. And change is painful. So what? You got to go for it.
You know what I do?
And you got to have a connection to source. You got to have a connection to source.
I change around the things in my room periodically, or rooms. So I may have things in a stayed place. But every now and then I go back into the room and I move things around, like every other week or so. And therefore it changes the energy up. Just a simple placement change of what's on your tables or where you put your books or how you do things. Shifting the energy is subtle, but it's powerful.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm so happy you said that, because I thought I was crazy. I do that too. but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Little changes make a little difference. It shifts what you get used to.
Right, and
stay outside your comfort zone, but be open to all possibility. Now, where did this come from? When you began this process, what was your impetus to develop in this manner?
Well, so as you mentioned at the beginning of this call, I was in the jingle business. First of all, I went to college on a basketball scholarship. So that was my sport. University of Vermont.
All right.
All right. I didn't go to Duke. I didn't go to North Carolina, but University of Vermont's a Division I school, so that's the top tier, okay, in college basketball. I was really good in high school, really good. I was, quote, the guy, okay? And I got to Vermont, and I was excited. My aspiration back then, was to be a pro basketball player. Could I have been? Obviously, I didn't get there, so, and which is part of my story. And so I remember, Winifred, walking out on the court the first day of practice, right? Looking around and going, oh my God, these guys are good. And so I had to up-level my game, right? Remember, I was here, now I got to up-level my game, right? And I played for a year, and I basically gave up on myself because I didn't have the discipline, the determination, the drive, and the commitment to doing whatever it took to get there, okay? And so I quit school, and that was a defining moment for me in my story. That was a giving up, I gave up story, if you will, okay? And a buddy of mine was quitting school at the same time, and he said, what are you going to do, man? I said, I don't know, Neil. He said, well, why don't you come work with me? I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to be the road manager for a band called Edgar Winter's White Trash. I said, okay, and what would I do? He said, well, you'll be a roadie. I said, well, what's a roadie? He said, you set up equipment. I said, I've never set up an amp in my life. He said, don't worry, we'll have a lot of fun.
I love it.
So I became the roadie for Edgar Winter's White Trash. We lived in Woodstock, New York, on a farm, 26 people, husbands, band members, and so forth. And I traveled around the country driving a truck, setting up stages for bands like, we were the opening act for bands like the Allman Brothers, Yes, Humble Pie, Alice Cooper, Rod Stewart, all these bands, right? And then 6 months into that gig, my friend Neil, right, who was totally irresponsible, got fired. Now, I learned a lot about organization and systems and so forth in this period of my life. So he got fired. I became the road manager. I didn't have to drive the truck anymore. I could fly with the band. And then 6 months later, that band broke up. And then the lead singer of that band started his own band. And he said to me, he said, hey, Paul, I need you to manage me. I said, Jerry, I have no idea how to manage anybody. He said, don't worry, I think you can do it. And so that's been my whole life. Don't worry, because I'm willing to try anything. Okay. And if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to find how to do it. Because what do I need to do to make it happen? Right. So I moved to California, and I knew I needed to get a co-manager. So there was two people that I knew. One of them was a guy named Ron Strassner, who managed a band called Rare Earth. They had this song called I Just Want to Celebrate. And I went to see Ron. I said, hey, man, would you be interested in co-managing Jerry? He said, I don't have time, but go see these people. The company was called Reb Foster and Associates. They managed Three Dog Night and Steppenwolf.
God.
Right? So I said, would you co-manage Jerry? We'd love to co-manage you with Jerry. So I got him a record deal on Mercury Records. You know, I just went in there and said, hey, you got to sign this guy. And it all worked out. We did a record. We recorded it at Ike and Tina Turner studio in Inglewood, California. And then we went on the road on a 45-day tour as the opening act for Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath.
Oh my God. Paul.
And then what happened was, we were in Chicago. We just finished the show, and make a long story short, we can go into it another time. The drummer got killed in a bar fight. Okay, and we were witness to it. And so that band obviously disbanded. And now I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm going to go back to school. I'm 4 years now into being on the road, or 3 years, I'm sorry, into being on the road. And I'm going to go back and get a law degree, because I have a very big fascination for law, right? And so I'm getting ready to move back to New York, and my friend Neil, the guy that I quit school, gave me that job, who came from a rich family. His father set him up in a tour management company. He calls me up and says, hey, sorry about Bobby, because he knew Bobby from the Edgar days. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I think I'm going to go back to school. He said, no. I need you to come to Germany and tour manage Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Wow.
I said, okay, send me a ticket. So he sent me a ticket. And I worked for Emerson, Lake and Palmer for 2 years. I lived in London at this really cool rock and roll hotel called Blake's Hotel, and I tour managed them. And you know, like the high end tour, private planes. I had a 55-man road crew underneath me. I had all these people I was responsible for, including the band, and I learned how to really run stuff. Okay. And then 2 years after that, I had met Pink Floyd's people along the way, and I became their tour manager for 2 years. And then the last thing I did in the rock world was I got Jerry, the lead singer, friend of mine, I got him a deal to be the lead singer for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then I was done. So then I went back to school, and I was studying to get a law degree. And then I got into the jingle business. My brother was a recording engineer. I was working for a company in New York. He was working for a company in New York. I was going to school at NYU 2 days a week. And I ended up being their second sales rep. I'd go around to all the biggest advertising agencies, BBD&O, J. Walter Thompson, Leo Burnett, all those places, right? And I'd get them work, right? And I hated it because I had very strategic, Winifred, very strategic, make 100 phone calls a day, okay? Now, you know, you get a lot of voicemail. So I'd call like the strategic people, like on Monday and Tuesday of 1 week, I'd call them. And then the next week I'd call them on Thursday and Friday. And then the next week I might just call them on a Wednesday. But eventually I got to the people that I wanted to get to, because I was very targeted, right? So I got them like the Burger King account, the Polaroid account, you know, Coca-Cola, all the stuff. They made me their executive producer. And then I didn't have to make the phone calls anymore. And then my brother and I started our own company. We called it conveniently the Hoffman Sound. And all the clients came with us. And we were rocking it in the jingle world, right? And then he and I had a falling out. And I started my own company, Paul Hoffman Music, in 1979. And in 1980, I wrote Have You Driven a Ford Lately, which put me on the map. Okay, I mean, it was already on the map, but that really put me on the map, right? And then what happened was, and you know, I'm a self-taught musician. I'm sitting in my studio now. I'm a self-taught musician. Okay, I play enough to be dangerous, Winifred, and you will understand that because you're a musician. I play enough to be dangerous, but I'm really good at composing. I'm really good. I mean, I write really hooky stuff, and so I made a lot of money in the jingle business, and I acquired. I like to always use that word. a $2,500 a week cocaine habit for about, I don't know, 12 years. I mean, I'm talking like $2,500 a week, snorting all the time, drinking, snorting, but I'm having a great time, right? And I remember, a lot of times people will say to me when I tell them the story, they'll say, well, don't you regret doing that? I said, well, I don't regret anything, because everything I've done in my life has gotten me on October 20th, 2020 at 9:34 right here.
Yeah.
Everything has gotten me to this moment. So I don't regret anything. Now, would I have done things differently? Probably, but I didn't. So what? And so then what happened was cocaine, more, becoming really incorrigible. People who didn't want to be around me, clients not wanting to work for me because I tell clients to go to what in sessions. And then finally, November 14th, 1988, I had a psychotic reaction. And and that's another story. And they put me in a straitjacket, took me to the 14th floor psych ward at St. Vincent's Hospital. And that was it. That was it, man.
It was over.
That's how the cocaine was over. Right, that was over. Got out of the rehab after I had a detox for 2 weeks. Got out of a rehab, which actually is my third rehab. Excuse me, that's another story if we ever do something on addiction. And I always tell people life's an addiction, because everything, you're addicted. I mean, it's not just drugs and alcohol. I'll bring this back in my prop. This is an addiction, and then I ended up getting healthy, getting off drugs, moving to California, started into the jingle business again, and then I met a guy named Harv Eker, T. Harv Eker. I don't know if you know him. So he had a company called Peak Potentials. He's kind of like a Tony Robbins kind of guy. And his signature course was the Millionaire Mind Intensive, is what it was called. And it was a 3-day course where he taught you how to change your money blueprint, right? Because if you think poor, guess what? You're going to be poor. If you think abundant, guess what? You'll be abundant, either or. And I went to his event, and I sat there for 3 days, and he comes up to me after, and he says, hey, man, so what'd you think? I said, Harv, you're a great teacher. Your music sucks. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I think, and that was kind of like my first foray, if you will, into personal development. I said, and it seems like everybody else in this personal development world plays popular songs to try to fit into your processes and your programs, right? So you play every money cliched song out there into your millionaire mind. I said, and when you play Pink Floyd's Money, and then I said, by the way, Harv, I did work with them. I said, when you play Pink Floyd's Money, who do you think they think of, you or Pink Floyd? He said, so what do I do? I said, I'll write you a song. So I wrote him a song called I've Got a Millionaire Mind. I'll send it to you. You'll love it. I'll give your audience, I'll give it to you. I'll give all those songs to your audience. So, and I created this company called Success Songs. So I've written 16 songs for Harv, Brendan Burchard, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, Robert Allen, Alex Mandossian, Marcy Shimoff, and the list goes on and on. I branded these speakers with their own song. They were like freaking out. They were loving it, right? Because people were singing about them now, right? And then I called Harv up one day and I said, Harv, I want to start speaking. And what are you going to speak about? I'm going to speak about rituals, habits, and mindset, and how to get out of your own way and sculpt your life. He said, okay. And the rest is history.
You're just a born creative, and you didn't even know it when you started out. It was just
had no clue.
You were such a flow of consciousness in general. I mean, in the beauty of what makes you so successful is that you say yes.
Absolutely.
You jump in and you say, okay, yes, and how do I? In what way can I get this done? And you're open. So if you were to look back in time and say, okay, in the beginning, what would be your greatest hang up then and your greatest attribute? And then what is that today?
Great question. Really great question. So my greatest hang up was worthiness. Mm-hmm. Believing in myself. I will tell you, till this day, when I sit down at this piano behind me, my first thought is, nobody's gonna like what I write. Now, Winifred, I'm not tooting my horn, but I've been pretty freaking successful writing songs, okay?
I'd say.
I've had 3 million people listen to my stuff and more, okay? But it's like, where does that come from? And so that's the whole get out of your own way. That's the whole mindset. That's the whole mind trap, limiting belief kind of concept. So that's that, worthiness. And I was a fraud because when I was in the jingle business, I would be working with Juilliard trained musicians, Philharmonic string players, all these, who David Letterman was?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. His whole band used to play in my jingles.
Oh,
Okay.
fantastic.
All right. So I'd be working with these kind of guys, and here I am pitzing around on the piano in the key of C. Maybe I'd play in B flat, and I'm thinking, man, I'm like a fraud here. But you know what? I'm really good at what I do.
Hey, you know what they
Right?
call that? They call this
What?
in a composer group. You were kind of a hummer.
A hummer. There you go.
You were a
Yeah,
hummer.
and that's a good point. That's a good point, because I remember when I used to go to advertising agencies before I started to actually write, and I was the salesman. They would give me a script, all right, and they'd say, because I'd say, "You got any work?" And they say, "Yeah, we got the script. What do you think?" And I'd sing them something on the spot, because I have no inhibition about any of that stuff. Wrong notes, right notes, I don't really care. Okay,
Well, there's a
and
freedom in
that's
that.
that's really good.
You're not worried about what people are going to say as much. But let's go back to our question. So your
That was my drawback.
drawback.
And then my greatest attribute, I remember the question. Yeah, a few years ago I might not have, but I remember it now. My greatest attribute is getting out of my own way. Is actually I've trained myself so that when I have any kind of a thought of it's impossible, to understand, no, anything's possible, man. You just got to do it. And again, I might fall on my face. I might have challenges. I might whatever. Because, there's two words in the word impossible. You know that, right? I'm possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my greatest attribute is learning how to direct my mind and get out of my own way and trust. Trust. Because I will never always be right. I will never always be right. Okay. And I know that already. So once I understand that, then it's like like you said before, I'm open. I'm available.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing. And that's how you have to be in everything. In anything you do in life, from a place of your entrepreneurship or your spirituality or your relationships or your personal development or your personal discovery, whatever, you have to be that. Because if you're closed-minded, then all you see is tunnel vision, man.
Absolutely.
And tunnel vision will get you through the tunnel, but it won't get you to the plethora of awe and wonder and the kaleidoscope of possibility that's out there for you.
So now today, what is it today for you? Sounds like you're carrying over some of your best attributes.
But today it's like, I wake up every day and I go, okay, what can I do today to further my vision and my mission and my purpose, which is to inspire people to step into and live their ideal life? Mm-hmm. How can I help people get out of that thinking that, oh, I just don't know people enough. I just don't have enough. I just don't, you know what? You don't need a lot of money to get successful. Now, money isn't everything. Being rich is really nice, but being rich in life is even nicer. Okay.
It is.
And I always tell people, go out and make a lot of money. It's what you do with the money that's important. Okay.
I think it's the relationships that you have with people along the way, because if there weren't any more people, so what if you have money? There's no one to play with.
Exactly.
Play
exactly.
Together, right?
And you can't take it with you when you go.
That's right. So
right. And and a lot of where I come from now is around the whole spiritual development that I've had in my life, and after I went to Alcoholics Anonymous for a long time. I didn't go to Narcotics Anonymous because I liked AA better, but AA gave me a really interesting foundation of understanding that the first step is turning your life and will over the care of God, right? You got to surrender, man.
We're on there.
Right? Yeah, it's like surrender Okay. And so, done a lot of reading, studied a lot of different philosophies. Um, and then I was on the board of directors of a spiritual center in LA for 14 years called Agape. Okay. So Michael Beckwith, okay, who started that church, who's one of my brothers, if you will, he was my spiritual teacher. And I was, privy to a lot of different information and concepts about spirituality, not just the agape concept, but a lot of concepts. Because I'm one of those kind of people. I always tell people, when I'm working with them, don't believe me. I'm just going to give you information. I'm going to give you stuff that I think can help you go from point A to point B and hopefully point C and so forth. But this is your life. So you got to walk the path that you want to walk. And if my information can help you on that path, so be it. If not, find somebody who can help you.
Right.
I have coaches. I have people that train. I have, I have, I have a great tech team that does all my back end stuff in my business. But I have 4 or 5, depending on what day it is, very smart people who help me in my marketing strategies. I mean, I come up with all my stuff, but I go, so what do you think? So I'm not afraid to go, so what do you think?
Yeah.
And then I'm not afraid for them to go, here's a great example. One of my best friends is a guy named Glenn Ledwell. He owns a company called Mind Movies. I don't know if you know who they are. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So Mind Movies. And I'm in
actually.
Yeah, I'm in a mastermind I helped him create called Flight Club. But Glenn is brilliant. He's brilliant. But Glenn always tells me 2 things. I'll show him an idea, Winifred. I'll go, I say, so mate, what do you think? And he'll say one of 2 things to me. He'll say, mate, that's a really good idea. Or he'll say the following, mate, now tell me why you want to do that again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I'm open, I'm available. And again, the thing that if I could, just again, close the loop for people, it's like, there are no comparisons in life.
Beautiful.
Just like there's no coincidences. So there's no need for you or anybody to compare yourself to someone else's success, because that's their success. So you might as well be you, because everybody else is taken. Now, if you want to model yourself and you have good examples of people who inspire and empower you, and you want to create things based on that kind of stuff, that's fine. But envy and jealousy and want to be like and worried about what somebody's going to think about you, that's death. That's a death sentence. Okay? Because if you're true and you're authentic and you're honest and you're truly in the vibration of who you uniquely, that's the most important word I can always use, uniquely are, then you won't give your power over to anything outside of you, because anything outside of you doesn't matter. What's inside of you matters. Yeah. Because life's an inner job, because your inner reality is always going to create your outer circumstance.
It is. It radiates from the inside out. And I want to know, I want to go back a little bit. Did you actually get your law degree?
No. But I'll tell you, this is how crazy I am. So I didn't even finish my undergrad. I'm one semester away from undergrad finishing, but I remember I said, okay, I'm going to get a law degree. I know I need to take law boards. I got to finish undergrad, but I would study in the law library because I wanted to feel it. I wanted to get the energetic of looking at all those case studies and all those, you know what I mean? So I put myself in situations that empower me.
Right. That inspire you and keep you toward your passion.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, do I always follow through? No. Winifred, of course not. I don't always follow through.
Well, but I will. You followed through on your actual passion and where life led you. I would say that's not a good or bad. See, people say, oh, you didn't finish that. No. It was just a question of what path did you take, because we didn't finish the story on that. But the path is you followed the path of passion and you went down that road instead, and that's where it led
Yep.
you to.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you
Go
came
ahead.
out the other side. Now, let's go back to your music a little bit, because we have such
Yeah.
a big music audience here, and we've interviewed some of the greatest greats on this show. And
Hmm.
we've had all kinds of people that have graced us with their talents and their stories, and I know they'll be interested. Tell us some of your best stories of being on the road with Pink Floyd.
I will. Let me just say one thing before I forget. If the audience wants to get a free song or free tuning in exercise, you can go to Sculptations, SCULPTATIONS.com, sculptations.com for a free download. Now, I will be transparent and say you're gonna have to give me your email. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do anything, sell it or whatever. That's just internet marketing. Or you can go to Success Songs, SUCCESSSONGS.com, and get one of those songs. Two different kinds of things. Okay.
Great.
So the road, I mean, one of my let me see, probably kind of one of the greatest days of being on the road was a New Year's Eve, and it might have been, I don't know, 19. I'm dating myself, which is no problem because age is just a number. I was talking to Hillary yesterday. We were talking about age and books and so forth. And I'm going, I got a new book title, which is Age is Just a Number. What's yours?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just a number.
Infinity. That's my number. Infinity. Timeless.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I have no
So
age.
I remember doing a New Year's Eve show in Toronto, California, when I was working with Edgar. We were the opening act. Rod Stewart was the second act. Rod Stewart and the Faces. And Alice Cooper was the headline. Right? So that was interesting. Working with bands like the group Yes, which I'm sure you're familiar with. I mean, these guys were really, really cool, really good people. Humble Pie, being with them. Actually being in, when I was working with ELP, we were recording an album. We took a tour break and we were recording an album at Air Studios in London. And one night, Paul McCartney and Ringo came over.
Awesome. Wow.
Okay, and another night, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards came over. And it's not. I don't say that to be like, wow, look at me, but it's like I'm sitting there going, watch, look, I'm going, that's Mick Jagger, that's Mick. You know what I mean? And so it was being on the road.
It was their tour manager, and he was on the show, and he has a book out. And actually, I just spoke yesterday with, and this is not name dropping, these people have been on the show, and they're people that I know well. And Andy Kahn, who is a member of the band The Turtles, just
I remember the Turtles.
Book. Yeah, and it's called The Most Famous Musician You've Never Heard of. And Andy Kahn had a premonition when he was in, I guess, near Woodstock when he was growing up, that one day he would somehow be in the room or record with Ringo Starr. And don't you know, lo and behold, fast forward in time, and Ringo popped over to do a recording one day. And,
isn't that awesome?
In the music world, it's just life. And once you're in that world, it becomes life, right? And it does when you run through that kind of talent and these people. So I'm interested in what's happened with you with that.
And so on the road, being on the road is one thing. I mean, it's like you're living out of a suitcase. It's awesome, but it's work. I mean, I had to wake up and work. Okay, it wasn't like, hey man, I'm on the road, and chicks and booze, and no, that wasn't what it was about, right? I mean, if I didn't do my job, the tour wouldn't happen. Right. Okay, but meeting all these kind of iconic people, was awesome. By the way, I went to the original Woodstock, and I was a junior in high school, and that was fun too.
Wait, hold it. What was your takeaway from that event, if you could recap it?
A lot of mud and a lot of rain.
That's all.
No. I mean, it was like, it was crazy. It was that was my first foray into any of this. I didn't smoke pot or anything, right? But I do remember that we decided myself. It was me and my brother, my friend John Winsker, and our girlfriends. And I remember that the second day in, we decided that we were gonna smoke some pot. Okay, excuse me, everybody. I apologize. Anyway, so we decided we'd buy some. So we probably bought oregano. I don't know what it was. Okay, but we were so paranoid driving home that we ended up buying sub sandwiches and hiding the pot in the sub sandwiches.
I'm
And
sure
we stopped.
stuck. They didn't even
Right,
care. They're like, just get them out of here.
right, and we stopped at a Howard Johnson's on the way out of Woodstock, and sat in there and had breakfast. And sitting in the next booth was Jimi Hendrix and his girlfriend.
Oh my God. Oh my
We had a little conversation with Jimmy. But in the jingle business, you know,
Mhm.
I've been fortunate to work with a bunch of people. So before I wrote "Have You Driven a Ford Lately," I wrote the placement campaign, which was called "Look Out World, Here Comes Ford," right? And Tony Bennett sang that.
Oh, beautiful.
So
That's
working with Tony in the studio was hilarious because Tony, Tony, right? So he would sing, "Look out, world, here comes Ford," F-A-R-D. I'm going on the talkback. I go, Tony, I need a little O on Ford. I need O, Ford, right? "Look out, world, here comes Ford." No, Ford, right? And finally, after hour, I got it. Then I said, "We're done, Tony." He said, No, I like this song. Let me keep singing it, right? That was Tony. I've worked with Isaac Hayes on Northwest Airlines, the Staples Singers, the Neville Brothers. I wrote a Burger King commercial for BB King. So I've been blessed to work with some interesting peeps, you know?
yeah, what an
Yeah.
amazing life. And to keep that creativity and those juices flowing and be the technical person that actually makes everything else happen. I mean, you're the multi-talent. You aren't just, the star. You handle all of it, and you've
But I
created.
know how to delegate, as I know you do too. And that's a big part of success for anybody that wants to create success. It's one thing to try to do everything, because I'm not good at everything, but I'm aware of everything. Let me put it to you. I think that's what you're saying. And I know that, okay, I'm not going to build a website, but I do know what I want it to do, and I do know what it to look like. And I knew the messaging and so forth, and then I'll give it to somebody to build it for me,
Right.
you know?
Well, you also know how to choose
And
the people that will make it successful. And I think that's another piece to a
yeah,
success puzzle is realizing the talent around you and
yeah.
choosing and working. Like you worked with Jack Canfield and other people, what's that like in the speaking, writing, inspiring, kind of semi-spiritual world?
Yeah, I mean when we're using the language we've used on this whole call, when you're open and available, you're willing, you're authentic, you're not hiding behind some kind of made up facade, if you will. Hey, I'm Paul Hoffman. So what? That and 50 cents will get me on the subway, okay? But Jack has heard. I mean, I've spoken on stages with all these people, right? I mean, Jack has actually come up to me. Jack's a good friend. Come up to me more than once after I've spoken and said, "Hey, man, I loved what you said. If you kind of just change this little section here," and he shows me his notes. So I takes copious notes. "If you change this little thing here, man, it would be so much more powerful." And I go, "Man, thank you, Jack." Right? And or Michael, Michael Beckwith, or anybody that I admire, and I'm not afraid to use that word. I admire. I don't want to be them, but I admire them because I admire how they show up in the world.
Mhm.
It's a whole different energy into that thing, right?
That is.
And it's been amazing journey to be able to first of all write songs for these people, right? I mean, I remember the first song I wrote, the first song with Harv. I never thought anything about it. I didn't think, let's just write him a song. I'll go to all his courses for free. That's exactly what I thought. Okay. And then after I wrote the song and I sang it live, and back then he was getting 4,000 or 5,000 people at a clip. And he comes up to me and says, "You need to write songs for all my courses." And of course, this is one of my greatest negotiating tactics. And this is a good note taker is, so he said, so Harv says, "You need to write songs for all my courses." I said, "Well, if the deal's right, I can do anything."
Oh, that's really good.
Right. And now you get to talk about the deal, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, here's what it costs. No, if the deal's right, I can do anything, man. Right. And that just diffuses the whole thing, because talking about money sometimes is funky. But then all of a sudden, I get a phone call one day and it's, "Hey, Paul, it's Jack Canfield." hey Jack, how you doing? Now I knew Mark Victor Hansen first because I met him at Agape, and Jack said, listen, I heard Harv Eker has a song. How do I get one? Then I said, I think I'm onto something here.
Yes.
That's when I created Success Songs,
I love
right?
it. I love it. You're inspiring on every level. Now I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to go off trail here. The artwork sitting behind you in your room is very interesting. What's Did you paint that, or is that inspiring to you in some way that you?
Well, there's a what's in the middle, which you can't see. That's me with long hair, right? In the middle. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But the picture on the left is my two dogs, Buddy and Ruby, who are in doggy heaven. My ex-wife gave me that for an anniversary gift. And the picture on the right were my two cats when we were married. She gave me that too. But there's some other artwork in the corner that I kind of painted. I took a
I thought so. I
course.
felt like you've done that artwork back there. I
Yeah,
felt the
yeah,
energy from that. I'm serious.
yeah. Have you ever heard of a guy named Rassouli? Rassouli?
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if
check him out, his artwork. So I met him at Agape. He's very, 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 he's a really very spiritual kind of an artist. So I took a course that he taught at the Agape University, and it wasn't about technique. Basically, Winifred, it was like, okay, here's a canvas, here's some paints, paint. Just go for it, right? And it's like I taught a course in songwriting, right? If I could tell you this quick story, I taught a course in songwriting at the Agape University, right? And I remember because I had a studio that was about, I don't know, a mile from Agape, and I had about 10 students in the course, right? And I remember they came to the studio. You know, they had like their guitars, and of course I had keyboards there and whatever. And they came in raring to go. Okay, we're gonna write songs, right? Tell us just a little bit of how to do it, and let's go write. And I go, well, let me hold on for a minute. So the first week was a 10-week course. The first week was before you write a song, you got to understand why you want to write the song. What is the message that you want to communicate? And is the message coming from your heart? So you got to think about it. So we tuned in on that kind of stuff, right? So that was the first class. The second class was I gave them a little homework. And the second class was them telling me about, who their favorite artists were, what kind of music that they like, and why, and all that kind of why questions. And then the third week they came in, I said, guess what, guys? And I had like artwork, blank, canvases and construction paper and crayons and paints and magic markers all around the room, right? And they walked in and said, what's all this? I said, well, we're going to write a song tonight. They said, oh, great. I said, yeah, but here's how we're going to do it. You're going to draw me your song.
Beautiful.
And I've got some of those still. It's like amazing. And then we started writing songs.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant. Of course, because it's a heartfelt connection. It's visual, it's tactile, it's everything.
It's part of you.
Mm-hmm.
When you write something, this as a composer and as an artist, and when you write something, it's an extension of you.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so
again,
you're putting so it's a
your unique
naked extension, right? It's a kind of a naked extension. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. It's a naked extension of you.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there.
I know that's what people don't realize about songwriters is they're very vulnerable in those moments, and that's why the beauty of, let's look, when I came and visited out east, I realized that there are collections of vinyl records still hanging around. And in the day when you sat down, you listened to a vinyl record, you sat down and you experienced it. You really listened to it from beginning to end. It was an experience. And now, because we have digital, we can flip through everything, and we change our experiences very quickly. If we don't like it, we say, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to change to this. Well, what if you couldn't change and you have to sit and really just take something in and actually experience it? Well, artwork is just that. And we're hoping that people will sit and take time to really experience not only one another, but also what it is people are vulnerably offering. And that speaks to music. It's not all just quick flip.
No, it absolutely is not. You know, at the end of the day, you know, and I'm sure, you know, you probably think this way. I don't know if you do, but I would, knowing who you are, at the end of the day, it's like when somebody listens to one of my songs, I don't want them to say, wow, man, that Paul is such a great song. I want them to go, wow, yeah, that's tapped into something.
Yeah.
That's connected something. That's allowed me to see something. That's allowed me to experience something. Good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't really matter. Okay, because you know what, you know, one of my worst attributes, back with another one, I just, now that I remember it again after I just said it, it was like people pleasing. I want everybody to like me. Not everybody's gonna like you, bro, don't worry about it. But if you are integritous, authentic, honest, and so forth, it doesn't matter if they like you or not, they will respect you.
Yeah.
And respect, to earn respect, you know, it's like the four agreements, you know, one of them is be impeccable with your word.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillary and I are talk about that all the time. She's a, you know, because sometimes she'll say, you know, man, you said you were going to do this, but you didn't do it. And I go, oh, okay, that's right. And I do it. But yeah, man, walk your talk.
Love it. Love it. You are that. You are all that and more. I love your stories. Would you come back and visit us again, and we'll talk addiction, because I think that's also very pertinent to our audience here at Making Life Brighter. And you have certainly made our lives brighter today. And so Paul Hoffman, everybody, the amazing, incredible Paul Hoffman, tell them where they can find you one more time.
Okay, go to Sculpting Your Life, SculptingYourlife.com. That'll take you around the whole maze of sculpting your life. And you know, if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out for me, is it okay if I give them my email?
Oh, please. Yes. Yes.
Okay, you can reach me, very simple, paulhoffman24@gmail.com. I will answer any emails that come to me. I do this on any talks that I do on stage or whatever, because listen, man, I'm here to serve. And if somebody's going through anything they're going through, if you have a question on courses, you have a question on life, I don't care what it is, Paul Hoffman, Hoffman, the number 24@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Paul
And
Hoffman.
put in this, but put in the subject line, Winifred, okay, or making life brighter.
Yeah.
So I know it's because, you know, we all get, you know, I must get, I don't know how many emails,
Oh my
and I only like to open the ones that are meaningful, okay, that add something to the conversation,
Well, we
because
could this
we're all
conversation
in a conversation.
today, because it's fascinating. Your life is amazing, and thank you for your contributions in every way that you've made them so far. We know that you've influenced the flutter across the globe, and
Ooh, I like
thank
that.
you.
The flutter across the globe. I might have to borrow that. Okay.
We're gonna write a song together, Paul.
We absolutely are, and I look forward to that.
Seriously,
Okay.
I'm not kidding you. I'm gonna show up.
No, either am I. Either am I. I'm in. I'm in. Trust me, I'm in.
We're
Okay.
down. I'm seriously, I'm down. Paul Hoffman, everybody, the personal discovery architect, man extraordinaire, Renaissance man, the man that's traveled and taken it from experience to actuality. And here we are. So go jolly, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is Making Life Brighter Radio, and you can find us on Voice America, C-Suite Network. And you can also go to the YouTube channel, Making Life Brighter. So you can go to makinglifebrighter.com, find us on Facebook at Making Life Brighter, and go make someone else's life brighter. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Paul. Go jolly.
Much love. Boom, boom.
Woo!